now let's move on to Chris Brown. Now, you guys know Chris Brown was set to perform at the AMAS, the American Music Awards, and Chris Brown's performance got canceled. Chris Brown was set to do a tribute to Micheal Jackson, in which he was canceled. Now, this didn't sit well with a lot of people. We as a general public, we have forgiven Chris Brown at this point, but there's a lot of other powers that be that have yet to forgive Chris Brown. My question is, how long are we gonna keep Chris Brown hung to the cross? When are we gonna forgive? I'm not saying forget Chris Brown. I'm not saying forget the incident that took place, but I think even Rihanna has moved on at this point. I think Rihanna has even forgiven Chris Brown, right? So my thing is, how long is society gonna hold Chris Brown accountable? There's a lot of speculations. A lot of people were saying that it was the AMAs, the American Music Awards, that actually made that decision to have Chris Brown canceled. But I find that hard to believe, because at the end of the day, why would you offer it to him and then cancel later? That's something like as if that would be purposely done, like you was trying to shame him, which I'm not saying that's not an option, but I don't believe so, right? I didn't believe that. It was kind of peculiar that would happen in that manner, in that fashion. So from what I'm hearing is Micheal Jackson's estate was actually the ones that canceled Chris Brown. The Micheal Jackson estate, they were concerned about Micheal Jackson's image, right? So they felt like Chris Brown, with his domestic violence past, wouldn't have been the best prospect, the best candidate to do a Micheal Jackson tribute. Now, that kind of threw me off. It definitely threw me off. But I understand their concerns, right? Because they're responsible for preserving Micheal Jackson's legacy. So I understand the course of action. But me, I'm pretty much done with it. And I'm think the general public, we're done with it too. We actually want Chris Brown to live at this point. Let's give Chris Brown his credit. We got to kind of separate the artistry from the personal life, right? He obviously, he's been crucified. He's been nailed to a cross. He faced all that ridicule, all that cancellation. He faced a lot of different adversity for the event that took place with the domestic violence case that took place with Rihanna, right? So I feel like at this point, they should let Chris Brown live. Like I said, the Micheal Jackson estate, they felt it was necessary to cancel. Well, they didn't approve of the performance. And subsequently, because they didn't approve of the performance, the American Music Awards canceled. They canceled Chris Brown. All right. So shout out to Chris Brown. You know, you still the GOAT as far as we're concerned. And not to end off on the subject, but we need to create our own award shows. We need to create our own award shows. Nobody should be able to cancel us at this point. If this year has shown us that our careers are in other people's hands, our reputations are in other people's hands, this year has proven that we have to create our own platforms to celebrate our own self. We have to create our own platforms in order to make sure that we don't get canceled, that we're not controlled. Right? Nobody doesn't control the narrative, because we have people outside of our culture controlling the narrative, tainting our images of our leaders and our celebrities in the Black community. So we as a people, we got to create our own platforms. We must create our own platforms. We can't keep relying and always trying to squeeze in on somebody else's account. Well, basically, let's call a spade. Don't shoot a messenger. Them white folk, all right? So you guys see when them white folk be having their platforms, and we always trying to be accepted by white people's platforms, right? And like I said, this is a non-biased show. Shout out to all my white folks. My great-grandfather's white. I love all cultures, right? All races, and we all one race. We're the human race, all right? But let's address the elephant in the room. We need to create our own platforms. Nobody should be able to control our narrative, period. Chris Brown, I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? This channel's with you, and we're gonna celebrate you. And I just feel like they're tainting that man's career to the point where he's not gonna receive the accolades that Chris Brown deserves. All right, Chris Brown is the #1 R&B artist at this point. Now that Kells is no longer on the scene, Chris Brown is our #1 R&B artist, and Nonetheless, he's a legend. All right. Chris Brown is a legend. Let's not get it confused. So shout out to Chris Brown. Thumbs down on the American Music Awards. Thumbs down to the American Music Awards and Oscars and Grammys and all that. Thumbs down. We got to create our own. We have to create our own prestigious award platforms, right? You got the Grammys, you got the Oscars, right? And obviously the American Music Awards. And I think we can accomplish that. I think we can create our own award platforms and award our own celebrities, right? And we hold them in high regard. And we control the narrative. All right. Whether we could amplify their image, or if we feel necessary, we can address them for anything that they're doing outside of their career. Because sometimes you got to address people about their personal issues, but at the same time, it's a thin line, right? Because we don't want to condemn the art. They're still contributing to the art form, and that's important. R&B is important, rap's important, as well as any other genre, right? So we don't want nobody to control our narratives for our people. Let's create our own platforms. Now,